피치피치기하노야. 스르스르 너 푸릉푸릉.
What? I am going to talk about gender and anime? Like gender in an action shonen anime with magical energy waves and muscle guys flying around? Am I insane? Yes, I am, pretty much. The problem is that ever since I watched episode 89 of DBS years ago, it stuck to my mind and I need to talk about it. Okay, so very big content warning here. This video will discuss being played for comedic purposes in a children's cartoon. Yes, I know. I'm sorry. When I was a kid, Dragon Ball was sick. Like super cool. It was basically muscle guys flying around, and I was a kid. I wanted to fly. It was probably the first anime I ever watched, and I watched it religiously. I had a blog about it when I was 11. It was the quintessential shonen anime series, which, for you who don't know, is the genre of Japanese animation where the hero's journey meets Groundhog Day. Our main protagonist is a himbo of good heart, who is hardworking, loves to eat, and is really good at fighting. A new foe, much stronger than our hero, shows up in the block, threatening everything we know and love. Our hero must train long and train hard to overcome every limit to defeat them. In this quest, he will often unlock new, almost magical powers and transformations. Then, in the next season or next arc, someone even stronger will show up and we have to do everything again. This is the basic shonen formula that was made successful in Dragon Ball, but you can see it in a lot of very popular anime from the past decades, from Naruto to One Piece. They were all heavily influenced and built upon the foundations left, mostly, by Dragon Ball Z back in the 90s. And although I wouldn't call myself an anime fan, I like some anime, although I'm not super knowledgeable or have even watched the essentials other than Ghibli and the transgender time-traveling film. Dragon Ball is a small exception because it was the biggest thing ever when I was growing up. Dragon Ball might be popular in the US, but anywhere south of that, it is massive. I would even say that Dragon Ball is honorarily a staple of Latino culture. Yes, Dragon Ball is technically 100% a Japanese creation, made by a Japanese author and made by a Japanese studio, and still very popular in Japan. But just look at the public viewings of the final episodes of Dragon Ball Super in South America. They are cheering at a cartoon fight, as if it was the World Cup finals or a pay-per-view UFC match. By the way, one of those clips was of a World Cup final. Can you tell which one it is? Can you really? We all know that Mexico loves Goku, more than they hate the commodification of Tex-Mex fast food, as if it was anywhere close to actual Mexican cuisine. And even in the United States, there has been some conversation about it being more popular around non-white people. And although I can't speak much about that, there are a lot of YouTube videos that delve into this topic. What I can speak about is a story that illustrates how big Dragon Ball is in my home country, Brazil. And for that, I will have to talk about 9/11. Wow, drastic change of subject, but bear with me. If you ask somebody around my age in Brazil what they think about when they hear 9/11 2001, there is a good chance they will reply, "It's the day they stopped Dragon Ball before the episode ended." In the early 2000s, Dragon Ball Z would be on TV in the mornings, always hitting super high ratings. I remember vividly watching the Buu Saga episodes before going to school, and that's when my crush on Gohan started. Every 9/11, when people in Brazil were going through the "What were you doing when you heard about the New York attacks?" you would hear very frequently, "I was watching TV, Goku was about to transform into a Super Saiyan 3 when they cut to breaking news, and I missed the rest of the episode." Every year, people would still be complaining about not watching the full Goku transformation. And the funniest thing, that didn't even happen. The network that showed Dragon Ball had to release a statement a few years ago declaring that on that Tuesday morning, they were showing Mickey and Donald, before cutting to the breaking news report of the attack on the Twin Towers. Dragon Ball was so ingrained in the collective consciousness that somebody made up a memory of watching Dragon Ball that morning, and a lot of people were, makes sense. I think I was also watching that. effectively creating a countrywide Mandela effect. And this is why I still care about Dragon Ball, because even though it has a lot of problems with, well, predictable plots, bad character development, transformations coming out of nowhere, and flat out forgetting the characters exist, I still always get a shiver down my spine when I see stuff like this. Like, literally the only woman in the whole damn cartoon gets demolished and I'm here cheering. I'm the worst. But I mean, he's Goku. I'm sorry, it's my Latin American blood speaking, I can't manage it. Dragon Ball was never going for the Pulitzer really, and with Akira Toriyama's recent passing, I doubt they would change their storytelling style. This is a story written by a man born in a small Japanese town in the 50s, coming from a background of writing mostly comedy. And his idea of comedy is, to understate it a bit, aimed at boys. There are a lot of jokes about porn magazines, women's underwear, and how Master Roshi is a perverted old man. Am I really expecting to find a nuanced outlook on gender here? Of course not, but come on. I swear, this is not even me talking about gender as in a complex and malleable social construction way. It's actually very basic gender as in women are actual humans who deserve rights kind of way. Can't I even expect that? And I swear to you, this treatment of the characters is something that hurts the series as a whole, and not just some SJW wanting to have better female representation. We want more women Super Saiyans! Because, at the end of the day, I still kind of like to watch a bit of Dragon Ball, and things like episode 89 of Dragon Ball Super, which aired in 2017, make me regret it instantly. In today's video, I will speak about how Dragon Ball mistreats its characters, mostly the women of Dragon Ball, and how this is a slippery slope that leads to terrible pieces of storytelling like episode 89 of Dragon Ball Super. Before that, a word from our sponsor. This video is brought to you by Skillshare. I'm just joking, look down here. I have 500 subscribers. What are the odds that I would have a sponsorship deal? I am a very small channel trying to navigate the deep and treacherous waters of this crazy algorithm, and I really like to talk about gender and pop culture, as you have noticed. I'm doing this without getting any money, in my free time, because it's fun. So scripting, recording, editing, that's all on me. Consider leaving a like and subscribing if you want to watch more of this. Also, feel free to leave a comment. I read all of them. Just be civil, okay? But back to character development in Dragon Ball. It sucks! And this happens mostly because of that hero's groundhog situation I mentioned earlier. The power creep in Dragon Ball is insane because, of course, every arc's antagonist needs to be increasingly stronger than the previous. This means that the big baddie of 2 seasons ago, who was strong enough to destroy planets and single-handedly destroy almost all of our heroes, now can't keep up with the secondary characters. Secondary in Dragon Ball meaning not Goku or Vegeta. If you are a Super Saiyan walking around with a crop jacket and a sword, please DM me. But yes, the power creep forces the writers to come up with someone exponentially stronger for each story. In Dragon Ball Super, this power creep got so ridiculous that when Goku defeated a foe that was as strong as the gods of the multiverse, they had to find ways to make him fight someone even stronger than what we believe to be the ultimate limit in the Dragon Ball universe. Like, 4 times already. It is impossible to keep up with how strong someone is or isn't. In order to barely keep up with Goku and Vegeta, who by far get the most amount of love from the writers, due to osmosis only, characters like Krillin are now strong enough to solo every single villain from the Dragon Ball Z series, just to be able to keep up with how comedically overpowered everyone else is. Does that mean that they at least get used for the story then? Not really. Krillin, Tenshinhan, Yamcha, Goten and Trunks. I cannot say Trunks, I only say Trunks, I'm sorry, it's the Latin American dub. Krillin, Tenshinhan, Yamcha, Goten and Trunks have so little importance to the plot that their appearances can be almost considered as mostly filler. As an example, let's take Gotenks, the fusion of Goten and Trunks, who when introduced was one of the strongest fighters in the universe, powerful enough to take down the big baddie of the arc, Majin Buu. The character was hardly ever used again in the future. Their appearance got relegated to comic relief only, to open up space for Goku and Vegeta to shine. But obviously, no one in the Z Fighters roster gets done more dirty than the women of Dragon Ball. They are not a lot, they don't even show up in the picture. When they fight, they only do it for a few episodes before they have to stay at home, being nice moms, and watch as their husbands save the universe. I would argue that Bulma gets the better end of the stick in the list. She at least has some character going on for her. And it is kind of insane because she's the second character we ever meet in Dragon Ball after Goku. You would expect her to be one of the main protagonists of the story. Well, she was for a bit. Bulma is a super smart scientist and heir to the tech empire of Capsule Corp. She is the one who finds Goku in her quest to find the Dragon Balls. If they find the 7 Dragon Balls, they can summon the magical dragon Shenron, who grants any single wish they want, bending reality to the deepest desires in their heart. And Bulma wants to wish for a boyfriend. Don't get me wrong, Bulma is cool. Her outfits are to die for. Throughout the series, she invents things like time machines, spacecrafts, and the Dragon Raider, the single most important piece of tech in the series. She travels to different planets, risking her life to save her friends, even though she has no fighting abilities whatsoever. But she's usually the butt of a lot of jokes in early Dragon Ball, and the joke is usually from Goku, inadvertently, from Yamcha, but mostly from Master Roshi, whom we will talk about soon. In the first arc, after gathering the Dragon Balls, she's unable to wish for the boyfriend she always wanted. The wish they end up making is ultimately for women's underwear. The panties joke is so common in Dragon Ball, there is an entire page in the Dragon Ball wiki dedicated to panties, especially Bulma's. However, she does find a few boyfriends in the following seasons, like the Desert Bandit Yamcha and the short bisexual Prince Vegeta. And after birthing Trunks, her main role in the series is to be Trunks' mom, to use the Dragon Raider when the plot demands, to spit out new text to advance the plot, and to get hit so that Vegeta can be angry.
How dare you! That's my power!
But worry not, she still uses her all-powerful wishes as a rejuvenating skincare routine. Because that's what any middle-aged woman would do with access to reality-bending magical powers. Just girly things. When Chi-Chi is introduced to us, it is very early in the series and she's just a small kid, daughter to a king, a prodigious fighter. Goku promises to marry her when they grow up, the only problem being that he is a kid who was raised alone in the mountains, so he has no idea what marriage means. So years after, he's confronted by her in the Tenkaichi Budokai, and she is strong. She gets to the quarterfinals of the tournament to fight Goku, which places her on the same level as Krillin and Yamcha. And when she gets what she wants the most, marrying Goku, she just completely transforms into an entirely different character. Unrecognizable. After becoming Gohan's mom, that's all she is. A mom. An annoying, angry, and controlling mom. She never fights again except for fillers, and she becomes obsessed with bossing everyone around, including Goku, Gohan, and mostly Goten. And the series portrays her in a super negative light as someone who is in the way of fun, and also someone who wants to stop the boys from saving the universe. Goku needs to work, Gohan needs to study, and when they are fighting, they are just becoming delinquents. Chi-Chi is shown to the viewers as someone who is trying to stop the Z fighters from being fighters, almost like an antagonist. I loved Videl. She was the best, really. She was smart, brave, and wouldn't take any shit thrown at her. She would immediately jump into fights with people leagues stronger than her. When we meet Videl, she loves fighting. There is this entire arc where Gohan becomes a superhero to fight crime, and not only Videl finds out his secret identity, but blackmails him into training her and teaching her how to fly, which he does. And although she doesn't have the strength of a Saiyan, they end up fighting crime together. She had everything to be an incredible character and develop stories of her own. And then guess what happens? I'll give you one chance. She becomes a mom and never fights again. Android 18 is the only woman character from the original series to be a main fighter. and that's because she's half robot. She's a villain, a machine designed to kill Goku alongside her brother, Android 17. In one timeline, they both destroy the entire planet. She wins. Powerful enough to eradicate the Z-Fighters and bring doom upon humanity. She is only defeated because Bulma invents a time machine to send her own son back in time to warn everybody and prevent it from happening. And this makes not only that the Z-Fighters can defeat the androids, but also that number 18 can rebel against her creator and become one of the good guys. And then, guess what happens?
She marries Krillin and becomes a mom.
She does fight again in the Universe Survival Saga, but honestly, in that battle and all the other sagas of Dragon Ball Super, you would barely notice her there if you are not paying attention. And again, this is not a problem only for the women in Dragon Ball. There is this video on YouTube called, I think, All the Lines of Chaozu in Dragon Ball Super, and it's a 29-second video. But the fact that the story can only find a place for these women as moms, as wives, shows so much about its views on women. They don't go on adventures, they don't learn anything new, they don't grow. They just stay at home. Yes, I only talk about the women who are human. Are there no women Saiyans? Let's talk about them. Pan, Kale, and Caulifla. Pan is Gohan's daughter, and although we didn't see a lot of her in the canon series, she was a protagonist in Dragon Ball GT, the first fighting female protagonist in Dragon Ball. I'm sure it went super well. I wonder if they know how to write anyone with she/her pronouns. Dragon Ball GT is usually looked down upon the fans for a lot of reasons. Even though Pan is much stronger than Goku was when he was fighting Frieza, she never managed to become a Super Saiyan herself. For years, it was even debated among fans if female Saiyans could even achieve that transformation. In an interview with Kazenshu, GT producer Kozu Morishita talked about how they basically wrote Pan purely as someone who would constantly need to be saved by Goku. Dragon Ball GT has an episode where Pan is turned into a doll, but that episode established the pattern of Pan sets the incident in motion while Goku resolves it, he said. It would break that pattern to make Pan a Super Saiyan and strong. But perhaps Pan could have become a Super Saiyan if the episode where she had turned into a doll had been a later one. We would only see a woman turn Super Saiyan 20 years later. Kale and Caulifla are lesbian-coded Saiyans from an alternate universe, and honestly, they rule. They are cool, they have personalities. Kale is a very shy, alternate version of the fan-favorite legendary Saiyan Broly, and when she fused with Caulifla during the Universe Survival story, they became so powerful that it took Goku going Ultra Instinct and delivering the best Kamehameha in the series' history to take them down. I have absolutely nothing to critique here, and I would love to see more stories of these two and Universe 6. I hope we see them again sometime soon. We have some other minor characters that are also treated poorly, like Launch and Mai, but I just wanted to give an overview of how Dragon Ball and Z and Super write or don't write women, before we go into the main reason why I wanted to make this video. To look into our case study. Episode 89 of Dragon Ball Super is horrendous, but it is a symptom of an issue that the series has had for decades. In this episode, Goku is recruiting his friends to join him in a fight to save the universe in the Universal Survival Tournament. And he needs to recruit the 10 strongest warriors in the universe. So, naturally, he thinks of Tenshin Han, who hasn't defeated a character with a name since 1989. He goes to his training dojo and Master Roshi is there, as a guest. And now, it's finally time. Let's talk about Master Roshi. He's the first character we see Goku training with. He is the inventor of the Kamehameha, and the outfit Goku wears is the key of his fighting school. He is important. Also, his whole character is that he is a perverted old man. Most of the jokes pertaining to Bulma's panties are related somehow to him, reminding that Bulma is a teenager at the beginning of the series, and he's centuries old. Again, this is part of the original characterization, and again, Akira Toriyama is a man raised in rural Japan in the 60s. This is his idea of humor. But this episode came out in 2017. It is fairly absurd that they are still comfortable to write him like this. In Tien's dojo, a new female student called Yurin shows up. She has a grudge against Tien, and since there is nothing she does better than revenge, she comes up with a disguise to train under him. But as soon as she walks into the place, Roshi does this. Funny, when Tien asked why she wants to train, she said she wants to become pretty? I didn't get it either. Tien rejects her, but Roshi convinces him otherwise.
Yeah. よっこらしゃったさあさあわしがみっちり教えてやるからの
Goku arrives to invite Tenshinhan to the Universal Tournament, and he declines so that the episode can have a 20-minute runtime. Meanwhile, Roshi has Yuri in a room, and very normal stuff is happening there.
ここじゃここに写真が溢れておるわ
何しやがるこの LGG
そんなところにも写真が心配はいらんわしが写真を取り除いてやるぞ写真じゃ
ちっちゃいか
What a playful, silly old man.
ちっちゃんは後にすっか
写真大事じゃ
Goku is still trying to convince Tien, and he's stalling for the episode's runtime. Meanwhile, Yurin starts her revenge plan, which consists of mind-controlling Tien's students. She's pissed because in the past she wanted to fight him and he didn't want to fight her, which is the whole motivation of the thing, really. Goku and Tien try to break the students free while Roshi, of course, is the one who goes to stop her. She confronts his abuser, who is much stronger, and mocks her. And then this.
見えたしばしばじゃ
この LGG
I swear, this is so uncomfortable, it's insane it got approved. Ugh. She minds control Roshi and he kicks Tien's ass. Goku is miles stronger than everybody in this story, so he just intervenes. And the way to defeat her is that Chaozu just magically raises her skirt. And that's why she loses. Not like she wasn't. I can't even. I'll stop it here. Like, is this entertaining for anyone? Is this a fun Dragon Ball adventure? I know some people will say, oh, it's a Japan cultural shock thing, and that most scenes were censored in the Western release, but for real, be honest with me. Is this the best story in this universe with these characters we could be watching? But I mean, I'm an SJW who was brainwashed by George Soros and the trans agenda, right? Let's see what the real fans have to say about this episode. It's cringe in the worst definition of the word possible. It's uncomfortable, it makes my stomach sick. It's bad for everyone, even if you think everything else I said in this video is woke garbage, I swear. And why don't I just stop watching this train wreck then? If Dragon Ball is so horrible, I can just turn off my TV. I don't need to go on YouTube to give my unsolicited opinion about a series that is made for boys, right? Why am I invading male-dominated spaces asking for things to be done my way? It is because there is so much wasted potential here. Toriyama's universe is huge and beautiful and imaginative. The strange creatures, the capsule technology, their designs and the world building are absolutely unique. It has one of the most wonderful depictions of an afterlife I've ever seen. There's so much to see and so many characters to meet. And as much as I love Goku, I want to meet everyone else as well. I want to explore the universe with Gohan and Videl. I want Goten and Trunks to grow up having adventures of their own. I want so much to see Kale and Caulifla and Kaba becoming Super Saiyans and crafting their own paths to save their universe. I want to explore the Magical Girls universe, which was a gag, sure, but such an interesting one. I don't know, spitballing here, let's just kill Goten, give Trunks PTSD, and have Goten have his own self-discovery coming-of-age adventures in the other world, facing monsters, meeting friendly faces, and growing as a person. have a whole arc focused on Universe 6 alone, far away from Goku, where the Saiyans have to understand their place in the universe and fight against evil empires. And dance to Hot to Go by Chappelle Roan. And gather their version of the Dragon Balls. You know, what this series was supposed to be about. The Dragon Ball multiverse is wonderful and huge and magnificent, filled with joy and tragedy and infinite possibilities. I'm sure there's room for a few women in there as well. There's enough room for Dragon Ball to do to young girls what it did to Latin American boys in the 90s. Maybe they would love it just as much if they could watch badass girls with pointy hair who break their limits, transform into something new, and save their friends. And the universe. I guess what I'm trying to say is, give Pan Ultra Instinct. Did you get my outfit reference? Did you get it? It's Gohan.